ticket for the Thomas and Mack Center. What a scene. Georgetown and UNLV, two old foes, Thompson and Massimino. Two teams in the top 20 will duel in the desert today. I'm Jim Nance, and welcome to CBS Sports coverage of Georgetown and UNLV. What an exciting afternoon we have in store for you. You talk about home court winning streaks. It's been over 4 years since the Runnin' Rebels lost here at home. 56 in a row since Oklahoma beat them back in 1989 with Stacey King. My partner, as always, is Billy Packer. And Billy, Georgetown has the kind of weapons with Othello Harrington and company that could really pose a real threat here today.
Well, certainly with their size, because this UNLV team is very small. Othello Harrington was the top high school player in the nation last year, and he certainly is not letting down anybody in the Big East now. He's developing one of the premier big men in the country in his very first year in college basketball.
Well, the headliner, the star for Vegas, is J.R. Ryder, over 30 points a game in his last 4 efforts.
Well, Jim, due to the sanctions by the NCAA, the young man was not on TV last year or not in the NCAA tournament, but I think he's the best of the West. We're going to see an outstanding player in J.R. Ryder.
I tell you, starting lineups have never been so exciting as they are at the Thomas and Mack Center. And here's Dick Calvert with today's editions of the starting lineups.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the Thomas and Mack Center, site of the nation's current longest home court win streak. Now today's opponent from the Big East Conference is the 18th ranked Georgetown Hoyas. Let's meet and greet their starting lineup. Starting at one forward, a 6'7" junior out of South Bend, Indiana, number 22, Robert Churchwell. Starting at the other forward, a 6'10" freshman from New Orleans, Louisiana, number 40, Dwayne Spencer. Starting at center, a 6'10" freshman out of Jackson, Mississippi, number 50, Othello Harrington. Starting at one guard, a 6'3" sophomore from Delco, North Carolina, number 4, John Jacks. And the other guard, a 5'10" junior from Morgan City, Louisiana, number 10, Joey Brown. Introducing the head coach of the Hoyas, now in his 21st season, Mr. John Thompson. And now, your Runnin' Rebels! Forward, a 6'7" senior out of Bloomington, California, number 23, Everett Gray. Coming at the other forward, a 6'5" senior from Oakland, California, number 34, J.R. Ryder. The head coach of the Runnin' Rebels, Mr. Rolly Massimino.
CBS Sports coverage of the road to the Final Four is sponsored by the Heartbeat of America, Chevrolet, and your local Chevy dealer. The people at Nike, who encourage you to just do it. And by Dean Witter. Dean Witter measures success one investor at a time.
Well, the place is rocking. Over 18,000, the first sellout for Coach Massimino at UNLV. And here is old friend John Thompson paying a visit before the game. They'll be interested to know that two of the officials from their championship matchup of 1985 are officiating today. Don Rutledge and John Clougherty were there in Lexington on April the 1st, 1985, and Michael Smith joins them today. UNLV 10-1. Wins over the likes of Marquette, Missouri, and overtime against Texas A&M this week. The lone loss was to Long Beach State. Georgetown 11-2, wins over Pitt and Syracuse, DePaul, Villanova, UConn, losses to Miami and Boston College. Harrington and Gray at center court. And the ball belongs to the running Rebels. Ryder with a quick first step and a two right away for J.R. Ryder.
Jim, even though he gives up size, he is so explosive in the inside, it's going to be hard to handle him.
On the baseline. Oh, a two countered by Spencer in and out.
Spencer's on him, and Spencer's got him by 3 inches. He has Ryder, but Ryder's so much more powerful.
Everett Gray, that's a three. And the rebound controlled by Harrington. Quick pass, and Joey Brown couldn't handle it.
You know, something may be the same you mentioned about Rutledge and Clougherty, and you talk about John and Rowley, but one thing is different, and that's the style of play, Jim. Both teams used to play in the 70s. This game is designed to play in the 90s.
Will it get there today?
You would have to think that they will, in the case of John Thompson's team, design the game to pull back more into the 80s.
Everett Gray lowered the body and is called for the personal foul. You will remember, many of you, Everett Gray from the 91 team who made it all the way to the Final Four unbeaten before Duke spoiled their dream in the semifinals.
Here you see a 1-3-1 half-court trap. An opportunity to throw over this trap because Vegas is not a tall team. There's an example right over the top.
Jocks from the free throw line, and Georgetown's on the board.
It's going to be pretty hard for Vegas to play Georgetown in that type of defense because of the superior size and the good passing ability of both fellow Harrington and Spencer. Straight man-to-man as usual by Georgetown.
What a step. Ryder's so quick. The jam is rejected. And Jocks got it over to Joey Brown. Brown, that's a two inside the line. Dedon Thomas. He out-battled that time Harrington for the rebound.
Beautiful crossover.
Harrington saw him go right over him, but gets the rebound for the Hoyas.
Thomas is down, Jim. I think he hurt his ankle a little bit. Great crossover dribble on Joey Brown.
Good bounce pass by Joey. Jocks got caught underneath the basket. And UNLV running. Well, Thomas lost control of it. Right back to Joey Brown. Harrington ahead. And Georgetown takes the 4-2 lead.
Jim, Harrington has got great hands, great running ability. He really possesses more of those skills early on in his career than did Alonzo Mourning.
The smoke from the opening lineups has not cleared underneath. Dexter Boney ties it at 4. The smoke still in the air, lending this game a certain surreal quality. A sellout today. Almost stolen, doubled up, and they do force the steal. Boney ahead. Here he is underneath. Tipped in by Ryder. No goaltending.
Now the pickup is a full court trap by Rollie Massimino's team. Changing the defense. Georgetown needs to slow things down a little bit.
Churchwell misses the jumper, but Harrington, he's so tough. Missing the jumper, but tipped in.
I think Churchwell got a piece of that, Jim.
Yeah, they're saying Harrington somehow. Spencer knocks it out of bounds.
Jim, the other thing that's interesting, the pace of this game, normally you'd think you'd have to have a deep team. Both of these clubs have, in the case of Georgetown, they had 3 players that average over 30 minutes a game. And the same thing for Vegas, so it's somewhere they've got to slow down.
Gray with a beautiful move in the lane. Everett Gray.
Spencer, an excellent ball handler for a man his size.
John Cox. Long rebound to Joey Brown. This great leader of Georgetown resets the offense.
Nothing unusual there. Had 9 rebounds against Connecticut at his side.
Well, Gray got in front and defended right into the hole.
Well, we remember what a great finisher Stacey Augman used to be here at UNLV. Ryder is in that class.
D-Don Thomas knocked it out.
And I'd have to say right now that the experienced players with a little bit more power on the part of Vegas are better in the open court than is Georgetown. Georgetown needs to get into a little bit more of a half-court game, slow this down. It's tough man-to-man now. Rolly Massimino changing up his defense.
10-6 UNLV. Harrington double up.
Oh, Gray with great defense.
Churchwell off-balance shot. The rebound, Joey Brown. He is so tough. They call the foul Emmanuel of UNLV. His first and the second team foul. He talked about Joey Brown, 9 rebounds against UConn. To think that he averages 5 rebounds a game and he's only 5'10". There's an official's timeout. Vegas with the early lead.
We have a timeout score.
Ending traditions of these two programs, the Beast of the East, Georgetown on your left, UNLV on your right. Tournament wins, conference titles very similar, each with 3 Final Four appearances and the national championship. Eric Miku, a freshman, in for Georgetown, and he's a good one, Billy.
Well, John Thompson, blessed with 3 outstanding freshmen, does not have a senior on this team, and they're in the hunt as a top 20 team.
And maturing very rapidly as the season progresses. Boney almost got the steal. In fact, he bounced it right off of Miku. UNLV will take over.
Again, Jim, you've got to talk about the experience differential on these two clubs. Vegas has a big advantage in that respect. And particularly when you take into consideration the way Gray has played on Harrington so far.
Oh, Gray scores the basket. And he'll shoot 1.
You're talking about, in the case of Gray, a 5th-year senior. And at that level, a guy is a man, no longer a boy. And I think that that's the difference we're seeing out here in regard to both quality players. But here's a 5th-year senior going up against a first-year freshman. A lot of difference there. Back to the 1-3-1 full court this time.
Rebels lead by 7. Miku, Churchwell able to bring it down. No-look pass, and Spencer.
Churchwell thought Spencer was going to go all the way to the basket, Jim. He had the pretty good angle for the semi-lob, but he just didn't take it.
Thomas fires it to the corner, into Ryder. He'll take it over Miku.
John Thompson is recognizing what's happening. He's calling a timeout, and he's got to get this game into a half-court game.
So a timeout by Georgetown as the running Rebels have run to a 9-point lead. Out here, Chevrolet donates a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school.
In this particular press, what's interesting is Ryder plays at the front of it. So if they convert, he is right there to score, as we see right here.
Spencer missed the jumper. Ryder ahead. Ryder working on Miku. He comes in over Spencer. That's 11 unanswered for the Rebels.
He's right there at the point of the press. Anytime the ball's turned over, he's automatically in position to take it to the hoop.
Churchwell takes it to the hoop. And they call it against Churchwell.
There he is, great catch and jump stop. Then he gets himself under control, takes it right in. Spencer, no challenge whatsoever because he can go right or left with a finishing hand. Georgetown goes zone for the first time. Patching up in a 2-3 zone, Harrington down inside. Now what you're going to see from Rolly Massimino is his 3-point artist sitting on a bench waiting to get in here. It's going to be Ken Gibson shortly.
He leads the nation in 3-point shooting. Boney had his shot blocked by Harrington. Miku on the wing and almost stripped away by Didon Thomas, but they call Thomas on the foul. Reach it in. That's the third against UNLV, number 1 against that young man.
27 steals on the year, extremely quick. Called a little too soon, Jim. Here's how long it took to get Gibson in a game.
This man has made 29 out of 50 three-point tries this year. 58% from three-point range.
That's almost like sending a message. You want to play zone? Watch what I bring off the bench. Isn't it interesting to see the entire change of style from Wally Massimino's club to Villanova to what we're seeing here today?
Miku high and Boney with the rebound.
There goes Ryder.
What a pass to Ryder, though.
Awesome play.
Didon Thomas with a pass that went right past a couple of Hoyas on the mark, and Ryder fouled on the shot.
Jim, they talk about a 40-yard dash for timing people. In basketball, it's usually a 4-foot sprint. That one was about a 40-foot sprint, and he exploded. And then the bounce pass right on the mark, but the man that made that happen is right here, J.R. Ryder. I said he's the best in the West. He might be one of the best in the country.
They'll shoot 2. Georgetown with a couple of subs. Lamont Morgan in, along with Kevin Millen. Millen number 32, Morgan number 34. Ryder will shoot one more. Billy, 32 against Missouri, 37 against Pacific, 31 against San Jose State, and then 38 against Texas A&M. That's the streak J.R. Ryder is on right now.
Well, he's shooting 43% in his threes, 52% from the floor, 83% from the foul line, averaging almost 9 rebounds a game, 27 points a game. I mean, he's just playing stellar all the way around.
He has 12 points just 6 minutes into the game. You saw a sub come in also for UNLV, number 12, Lawrence Thomas, freshman from Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Then Georgetown needs to pull the ball back out, so they're too anxious to attack. They've got to make Vegas work a little bit before they shoot.
Morgan missed the 3. Here's another.
There he goes again.
Ryder goes right past him and lofts it home for another 2. He has 14.
I can tell you right now that J.R. Ryder has been waiting for this day to be on television so people could see him.
Everett Gray with the steal. Gibson thought about it. Instead, he sets up Boney. Gray fighting for the rebound. Down. It comes out to J.R. Ryder. You said it, Billy. J.R. Ryder said yesterday, I've been waiting a long time for this kind of audience that I'm going to get tomorrow. And he has been up to it.
There's that 2-3 zone. There's the 3. Right now. And Jim, that is the 293rd straight game that Vegas has hit a 3. A record in Division I basketball. Jerry Tarkanian started the tradition, and it continues.
That pass is off to Georgetown.
You know, John Thompson went for the knockout blow against Connecticut. A Connecticut team that's young as well. But in this particular game, I really think he needs to pull back and play a different style.
Gibson was fouled. Was he shooting a 2 or a 3?
I think his foot was right inside the line. What makes Gibson such a great three-point shooter, Jim, is the follow-through. He stayed with that shot even as he was going down to the ground.
Reed in for Georgetown. Harrington sits. Churchwell about to get right back into the lineup. Churchwell has to go back to the official score, and he'll come in. Spencer will rest. So Gibson will shoot 2, Billy.
Well, when you've got a great three-point shooter, normally he's also a great free throw shooter, and that's the case here as well. He's shooting right at 86%.
There's what we talked about. Actually, it was 58% because you can add in the A&M stats from earlier this week. 29 of 50 coming in. Already 1 of 1 in this game. He'll shoot one more. Played a year, in fact, at Illinois, did Gibson.
Year at Illinois, then transferred to Air Force, then transferred here.
He got 1 out of 2. UNLV has scored the game's last 19 points.
Now, Georgetown, again, they're trying to do too much too quickly.
Gray pulls it down. What a run UNLV is on. Gray thought about it. He'll take it. 3-point. And Millen with the rebound to Georgetown. Ryder lost his footing.
So it's 5-on-4. You got to find an open man. But Ryder gets back in time. is what a young team will have happen to them sometime. They've lost sight of how to control this game.
Joey Brown knocks it down. That stops the 19 unanswered streak. Manuel on the drive. Manuel beats him back. You might remember his brother Eric, who played in Kentucky, Eric Manuel. Gibson moved with the body a little bit. He's called for his first. And that's team foul number 4 against UNLV. Didon Thomas returns along with Boney. And a couple of Georgetown subs. Jocks and Harrington back into the lineup.
Jim, I talk about the number of minutes that these young fellas are playing from Georgetown. 4 guys on Georgetown's teams averaging 35 minutes a game in Big East competition. The leader right here, Joey Brown, who can probably play 40 minutes, is standing in the rehab.
Brown back inside. He tries to get it to Harrington again. Brown only 29% from 3, but he knocks down his first attempt. Under 30% on his career, but Joey is solid on that one.
Right. This particular team is only shooting 39% from 3. Excuse me, 30% from 3. And there's a big difference between what UNLV has been able to put up. Almost 134 more on the year than does Georgetown.
11 minutes remaining in the first half. 27-11. UNLV. Back inside, Manuel. Back-to-back buckets for Manuel.
They're doing a great job. Whether it be Manuel, whether it be Gray, whether it be Ryder, they all have more power inside than the man that's guarding them, so they're taking them in the hole.
Churchwell. Short, way short, but Harrington's right there. Pump fakes, and they got him going down with it. But right back to the Hoyas. Jocks. Harrington again. Count on it this time. Othella Harrington.
Nice play by Jocks to go ahead and get it inside. He realized that Harrington had too much size for anybody guarding.
Three-pointer. Dexter Boney. Georgetown 25% from the floor, and this one drops from Churchwell, who comes off a career-high 25 in the win over UConn on Monday. Ray.
Beautiful pump fake.
He got Harrington to commit.
Well, Jim, it's just a bad matchup.
Churchwell, he'll shoot 2.
Now, they're going to call the foul on Boney. Gray wondering what the call was. It was not on him. He made the great block. You see right here, you'll see Boney hits with the body. There's the foul. Gray does a great job getting all ball. And he did not commit the foul, but Boney did.
That's the first on Boney, and team foul number 5. Churchwell will shoot 2. Ryder's right back into the lineup after a brief rest.
Well, if anything, Rolly Massimino got a break in regard to being able to substitute and get Ryder fresh, more so than John Thompson's been able to do with his troops.
Churchwell, second in scoring last year to Alonzo Mourning. Now he's second to Harrington on the Georgetown scoring list, and really was intense in that win against UConn. We talked to John Thompson about it. He said, I really liked it, even though he got called for a technical foul for finger pointing at an opponent. But he said, that's the kind of intensity we need, and Churchwell says, we're getting more of that every game.
Of course, he was second behind Alonzo, who was the leading scorer in 26 of their 32 games last year.
Thompson said, I think Robert's getting feisty in his old age, but he said it with pleasure about that intensity. Now Ryder, again, that first step, this time it's stripped away, but right back to Didon Thomas. He carried it on his hip, so a double dribble.
Nice piece of defense by Joey Brown on the switch. Again, let's see if, Jim, there's only, half the half is over, so it's not like you've been blown out of this game. Georgetown just needs to slow things down, make Vegas work a little bit in a half-court set.
Fred Haygood, number 42, in for UNLV. You see him defending underneath.
See, and he can't handle Harrington. And that's an opportunity that they haven't been able to give themselves by taking a little bit more time off the clock and allowing Othello Harrington to establish position in the low post.
Still not on the 1-on-1. Haygood's first, team foul number 6. This is a young man who just came to the team at the semester break.
Well, Rolly Massimino would like to see anything to add a little size to his club and a little depth.
Spencer misses twice.
Foul ball inside.
I think it's going to be on Othello Harrington pushing off after the shot.
Got a doubleheader coming your way tomorrow. North Carolina and Seton Hall from the Meadowlands. Is anyone playing better than North Carolina?
Jim, Dean Smith, I think, has had some better individual players over his illustrious 30-year career, but I don't know if he's ever had a team from top to bottom play any better within his system than this club is. The 1-4 set. Spencer again on Riley. Back him up by Manuel.
Manuel with a tough turnaround going the wrong way, and a good shot right off the glass for 6 points now.
Ryder showing he can pass the ball as well as put it up.
A good time to defend that interior pass. A pass to the inside, and a turnover. Gray returns. How about Everett Gray? His experience is really showing through. The tallest player at 6'7" on the entire roster. They had Danny Griffin, but he left the team last week. He was 6'9" and a very deep sub on this team. So Gray's the tallest at 6'7". Boney splitting the defenders.
Now, what Vegas has done in the last few times, Jim, is they've forgotten about J.R. Ryder. When you have a man on fire like this, continually go to him, because Georgetown hasn't proven they can stop him.
On the blocks, Manuel rejected by Harrington. Irvin Church is in, number 11 for Georgetown.
His 20th block on the year.
He was on the line, was Irvin Church. That's now 11 turnovers, Billy, against Georgetown.
And they got hung up in this particular game by trying to cram it right at UNLV, and it's not working.
Everett Gray set up for the three.
Right ball. I think that was off Boney. Nope.
Now we've got conflicting signals. They're going to rule it UNLV's basketball, but first, an official's timeout. 36-17 UNLV. There's your game summary. UNLV on a roll. Ryder with 14, and they're so hot that one of their ardent fans came out during the intermission and hit a shot from mid-court just a moment ago and won a brand new car.
So let's see, get back to the real hot man out here, Jim. J.R. Ryder. Let's see if Rollie Massimino got his guys say, go back to the horse. He's trying to take Spencer one-on-one.
Ryder with the jumper. He's strong off the glass.
And you see what happens when a guy doesn't touch the ball for a while that's been hot. When he does get it, he tries to take a shot that's not there.
Church from the corner. He knocks down a three. Irvin Church, only 22% from three-point land. He's had an off year shooting-wise, but he sure looked good on that one.
Back to straight man. Ryder Spencer is the mismatch at the top of the key.
Gibson, the long-range shooter, another three. Last touch by Harrington.
You know, it's kind of interesting. The big matchups between, obviously, Georgetown and UNLV have been John Thompson against Jerry Tarkanian. Tark winning a better percentage of his games than any man in the history of basketball, but against John, he was 1-5.
And that one win was in the West region, second-round play in 1991. That team that was undefeated until Duke got him in the semis.
Knocked them off 62-54, a little bit different style than we're seeing out here. Nice fade.
Gibson. He was set up that time, but...
You know, Jim, he was set up, but his feet were not square to the basket.
Brown gets it over to the far corner. Church again for a three. In and out. But Harrington follows.
Good hands by Harrington. I think right now, Rollie Massimino got to be a little concerned. His team has gotten out of the flow that they had early in the ballgame.
Gray misfiring on a three. Here comes the Hoyas. Churchwell. He'll take the shot. Thought about passing it instead, but took the shot. Here's Spencer. Long rebound to Joey Brown.
Churchwell knocked it out of Othello Harrington's hand.
Spencer. Ken Gibson pulls it down. Manuel driving from the wing. Lambert. Look out. Technical ball. A technical called.
Well, you know, I really believe that Church had no intentions that were ill there as he walked to get to the other side of the lane. You're going to see him right here. What happens is Manuel's down, and Church will walk by him and go right over the top of him. Now watch this. See, I really think he would just straddle him and going through. Maybe at another angle we could pick it up. You see Manuel really goes down hard. And there's Church. He's going. He's
jawing with him.
Well, he may be, but he just straddled and walked on through. I mean, there was no intention here to hurt anybody. He picks up the technical in a hurry. A game that's played at this intensity level, referees want to stay on top of.
So Church comes out, and 2 free throws coming up for UNLV, plus the free throws for Manuel.
And Jim, I think you made a good point there, is that more than the physical contact, it was the verbal.
And that's this year a technical.
Exactly, and it's something that I think officials are very cognizant of people going out and taunting other people. So they were on top of that play. 2 on the personal, and he's got the tech.
It's a lonely feeling, although you are home. Boy, we think back to last week at Duke and how the Iowa players were trying to prepare for all the swaying and the background distractions. I think it's unlike any other place. Manuel 0 for 2. Now they'll shoot the 2 technicals, and they'll send Ryder in.
And here's going to be a nice gesture of sportsmanship. Church comes out, shakes hands with Manuel, runs off the floor. He better get off the floor before the ball goes up.
That is a class move by Coach John Thompson, and here's Irvin Church. Ryder will shoot 1 more. How about the journey for Ryder? Some people may ask, how did he get to UNLV, Billy?
Well, you know, Kansas State, he signs with K-State and doesn't qualify, goes to junior college. Obviously plays extremely well there. He was ineligible his senior year in high school. Some people forgot about him there. And of course, Jerry Tarkanian doesn't leave, at that particular time, doesn't leave any stones unturned. Gets J.R. Ryder to come here to Vegas. A lot of people thought he'd go pro last year, but wisely stayed on because he's now moving himself up into a lottery pick status.
Looking like one today for sure. Brown fires it to the corner. Churchwell frees himself. Spencer kicks it back out. Here's Miku. Way off on that one. And Manuel with the pass ahead. Ryder, forget about it.
Miku did 2 things there. He took the 3 and then he watched it. Ryder came right in behind him. No defensive balance by Georgetown. And even if you had the balance, Miku is not going to stop J.R. Ryder on the finish.
Foul once Harrington came down with it. It's against UNLV. Free throw situation coming up.
There you can see no balance. Joey Brown tries to come over from the other side, and there's no way you can stop J.R. Ryder with 2 5-foot 10-inch guards.
17 Irvin Church back in the ball game for the Whales, and Othella Harrington at the
Manuel with his second. That's number 7 on the team. So a 1-and-1 for Othella Harrington. Irvin Church has returned for Georgetown. Harrington will shoot 1 more. Gibson back in. How about this? Centers of attention. Here's the group of big men for John Thompson have really made names for themselves. And look at Harrington's average and the other one's career averages. He's only halfway through his first year, true freshman.
Jim, you know who fits in the middle of those great centers in regard to all-time rebounder? It was a number 33.
Oh, Paul Tagliabue.
How about that? He's number 7 on the all-time list. He's ahead of Mutombo. Ewing leads the number 1 rebounder. The commissioner of football is right up there with him.
Who had a higher average rebounds in his career, Tagliabue, Mourning, or Mutombo? I looked it up. Average for the career. Average rebounds per game. Tagliabue had more than both of them. Right. And using the shot clock, Victor Boney increases the lead to 42-24. Patterson, quick steps.
Now, both of these teams in excellent physical condition. There have been some substitutions, but in terms of minutes played, that starting, particularly the starting 4 group on both clubs, putting in their full minutes. Joey Brown hadn't been out yet.
Spencer sits and Kevin Millen is in. Millen, a sophomore from Memphis, Tennessee. Nearing the 4-minute mark. 4 minutes remaining in the first half. 18-point advantage for the Running Rebels. Ryder, 3-point shot. And Irvin Church with the rebound after boxing out. Deflected off Thomas's hands. He may have saved the bucket. And an official's timeout under 4 minutes.
Timeout on the court.
Welcome back to the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. 42-24 our score. Hi, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien coming up on Prudential Securities at the half. We'll fire up the college basketball scoreboard, get you caught up. A chat with Rolly Massimino about why he came to Las Vegas and the newest fad in college basketball. Fellas, Batman and Robin will like that one. Back to you.
All right, Pat. Good to have you with us. Here's a 3-point shot by Millen. Long rebound way out to Millen again, but he was bumped by Don Thomas. Put him back on the line for a 1-on-1.
Well, we've got 2 very tough, hard-nosed point guards. Joey Brown, we mentioned, and Thomas. Not afraid to go in that pack, grab off a rebound, and head out on the break.
Millen with a 1-on-1.
Jim, you were talking about stats before. You know, you go back into the book at Georgetown. I'm going to put up some numbers for you, but we'll get it on the next dead ball. I'm going to give you a wild number. See if you can come up with it. Straight man-to-man. Vegas opening things up right now, trying to get J.R. Ryder back in the offensive flow. Little pick-and-roll move. There he is.
Ryder on the block.
Over the back.
Right over the back he was of Derek Patterson, who's seeing his first action for Georgetown. So Ryder called.
Fouls on the round number 34, J.R. Ryder, first person.
That's his first.
Jim, that was a great offensive half-court set for J.R. Ryder. He sets the solid screen, looks to pick and roll, and then they set a screen for him, looking for the lob down inside. Very difficult there because he's definitely going to get a switch defensively and end up with a smaller man on that particular play.
Here's a 1-on-1. Patterson off the back of the rim. Long rebound to Boney.
Remember, even in the good years from Georgetown, the glory years, foul shooting was always a problem with the Ewing team.
Oh, Everett Gray thought he was set up down on the blocks, and he slaps it out of bounds. Go ahead, give me that number now.
Okay, I'm going to give you the numbers. 12, 17, 16, 14. You know what those are?
Those are the numbers you're playing at roulette last night.
No, those are the averages of Patrick Ewing in scoring in his 4 years. You know, people cynically talk about Dean Smith held Michael Jordan down to 17. Well, those were the years of Ewing scoring, and it shows what great all-around players they became throughout their collegiate careers. Moving to the pros, now they're big scorers as well.
Shot from way out there, and the rebound back to the Hoyas.
Not shooting well, but they are starting to pace the game a little better. The walk.
Travel against Millen.
Now slowing the pace down a little bit, they can start to get the ball inside to Harrington, where he can be more effective. Harrington in trouble with Gray on him out that far from the basket.
Ryder wanting to challenge Millen. He steps. So those two exchange traveling violations.
Well, that was a pretty good set of fakes, but Millen did a good job not going for him.
2:15 remaining in the first half. It's been sitting on 42-24 for a while. UNLV in front.
Much better pace here.
Joey Brown slapped away by Gray. Ahead to Boney.
And another mark, Jim, of an inexperienced team, as Georgetown is. When Brown penetrated, nobody came back for defensive balance. How many times have we seen that today? Whenever their guards go inside, they don't have defensive balance, and Vegas just goes and scores on them.
Church, another long-range three.
See, he shoots, and there's Gibson on the other end of the floor.
Harrington picks up a lot of loose change, and he'll head to the free throw line. Foul against Gray. And for Gray, that's his second. Checking back in is Haygood for the Runnin' Rebels. Gray will rest.
Jim, we're seeing Othello Harrington out here today, obviously one of the premier young men to come into college basketball this year. From his high school team of a year ago, I saw them play the other day in St. Louis. They had a young man named Ronnie Henderson going to LSU. Probably one of them. He's unfortunately not going to be playing anymore this year. He injured his shoulder. But he is going to be one of the premier guys to be on the scene next year in college basketball. A great leaper. Reminds me a lot the way he plays, the way David Thompson used to play for NC State. Just incredible leaper with great range on his jump shot.
That's the high school, as you mentioned, where Harrington led them to 2 state titles. Murrah High School in Mississippi. He makes 1 of 2.
And you're talking about a high school team that is very well coached and really gifted.
Harrington has 11, almost half of the Hoya points. Foul outside. And that's called against Millen. First on Millen.
You know, take a look at Harrington so far this year. 18-12 at Syracuse, 17-13 at BC, 22 against Connecticut, 23 points and 12 rebounds against Villanova. I mean, these are big numbers for a guy moving into a league that's of the quality of the Big East.
Leads the Big East in rebounding, second in scoring. Ryder at the line for UNLV. 1-1. Ryder says, we're small, our team, but we're not intimidated by anybody. Ryder, 6'5", is the second tallest starter. Knocks him down. Now with 20 points, Billy.
You knew he was going to be a big scorer at Antelope Valley Junior College. He had 40-plus points over there.
That was backcourt.
Yep.
Patterson. Joey Brown. He was so tough.
In between Ryder and Boney, Joey Brown gets the rebound. Great man. He's got Boney on him. See if he goes by. Good move.
1 minute to go in the first half. Stripped away. That's right. Look out because it's Boney time.
And then a bad foul by Georgetown. No opportunity to stop Boney from scoring. Big turnover by Georgetown. There again, we talk about defensive balance. Joey Brown tried to make a move one-on-one. Nobody backed the defense against the break. Boney has an easy layup, and then compound the problem with a foul on the dunk.
Foul was on Lamont Morgan, his second. Boney could not convert the three-point play.
They need to use the full 45 here. Nope, turn it over again.
And Boney was in the right place. Ahead, Ryder looking for it, and Joey Brown tips it away like a defensive back.
How about Ryder getting out on that break, though? He can cover some ground.
He is the greatest deep threat in sports.
Yeah, why are they doing this? Why are they putting up shots when they got a chance to keep this thing under control? 30 seconds left in the half. You need to get the last shot.
Well, they're out of sync, trailing by 23.
Really they got out of sync early on. And I think with this young team, they didn't realize that they were being beat to the punch with that fast breaking. And they didn't control the tempo, and that's what put them behind the 8 ball here.
John Reed in. Harrington out. Urban Church bounces in to the lineup also.
You know, we talk about the young team that Georgetown has with no seniors. They're one of 3 teams in the Big East this year that don't start a senior. There are only 14 seniors out of the 50 starters starting in the Big East. So the league is down somewhat this year, but it's because it's so young. All of its stars are guys in the freshman and sophomore class.
Yeah, Big East bashing is in vogue these days, but I still say they'll do a 5-3-1 in the tournament. That's 5 teams minimum, at least 3 to the Sweet 16, and at least 1 will make it to a regional final.
Jim,
Write it down. Seton Hall, Billy.
That's a reach. Well, we get a chance to see what they can do tomorrow against North Carolina.
You got a break on that one. Boney came back to get it. 23 seconds to go in the half.
Raleigh wants one shot. Good idea. Really thought that's what Georgetown should have done on their end of the floor. And with the matchup that you've got out here, Millen on J.R. Ryder, they set the screen to open him up.
5 seconds. Ryder with the jumper, and he has it. Ryder with 22.
That's execution for you.
It's halftime. UNLV is halfway to 100, and more importantly, halfway to its 57th consecutive home court victory. So at the end of the first half, the score, UNLV 50, Georgetown 26. Pat O'Brien will be along with Prudential Securities at the half after this message and a word from your local station.
To 26. Well, how would you like to get a phone call that went something like this? Hello, Coach. We'd like you to replace a legend. Well, that's the call Rollie Massimino got last year, and here he is replacing Jerry Tarkanian and trying to bring credibility to this storied program. A chat with Rollie Massimino on the campus yesterday.
Bright light city, gonna set my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn, so get those stakes up higher.
Was it tough leaving Villanova, or had you just had it there? You know, not in a negative way, but I mean,
yeah, no,
job there.
It was really, really tough because I had an awful lot of people that we were friendly with, and the faculty were my dear friends for 20 years. And, the players, they were my kids, and I still called almost all of them.
There's pressure in this sport anyway. There's pressure in any job at this level. But now you have pressure to not only win games, but to graduate your students, because that's, I think, what they were hiring as well, too, right? How are you encompassing that in your program?
Well, we've done everything the same as we did in Philadelphia for 20 years, and our demands, our philosophy is the same, and I haven't looked back. There's a great tradition here athletically, and Jerry Tarkanian is still a friend. We talked last week, but we've just incorporated our philosophy the way we want it to happen, and it's going to happen that way.
This really is the only thing happening in town, isn't it? I mean,
the only show in town, right? Back home there were 5 institutions, and that created a different scenario. But here's the only show in town.
This thing behind us is a flashlight, right?
Yes, that's a flashlight. How about this campus? I mean, did you think that you see this thing on, in Las Vegas, in a desert? It's great. 2 malls. That's the flashlight.
That's a flashlight.
Fine Arts Building.
Can you show them the light here?
Yeah, gonna try. Oh man, I hope so.
Viva Las Vegas!
Well, he plays golf every day, found an Italian restaurant. It's heaven here for Rollie. Well, if you're an avid hoops fan, you probably noticed that when you break your nose these days in this game, it's not just good enough. Put a little piece of tape over the card. Don't wear masks coming into town, but sometimes wear them leaving town. Jim and Billy back with the second half. I'm Pat O'Brien. Thank you for watching Prudential Securities at the half. Enjoy the second half here on CBS after a commercial and a word from your local station.
Prudential Securities at the half was sponsored by Prudential Securities. The most important thing we earn is your trust.
At Prudential
is sponsored by Magnavox. Smart choices for smart people. The ingenious products from Magnavox. They're smart, very smart. UPS, the package delivery company more companies count on. And by McDonald's. What you want is what you get. Guaranteed at McDonald's today.
In case you were wondering, they're still running out in Las Vegas, 50-26 at halftime, as Georgetown missed its last 9 shots from the floor. It's my pleasure to have with me a couple of guys working today for CBS in the runner position. Philly Ray Brown, an emerging star and 2-time winner on the tour. Fred Couples, the Masters champion. You're familiar with this role of the work you're doing today. What do you think of the game first half? I know Rollie Massimino is such a dear friend. Are you impressed?
It's unbelievable. This is probably the biggest game for Rolly this year, and he's making them look great. He's a great coach, and it's kind of fun to be here working, but I don't know why we're here. We're supposed to be back there working.
You're supposed to be back getting us some sodas or something.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll send you in a minute. Billy Ray, your final 4 picks real quick.
Well, you know, I always have that Kentucky team, Kansas, North Carolina, and my sleeper of the year is going to be UConn. But if I had my choice, I got to stick my Cougs from Houston in there.
That's right. We're all Cougs from Houston. What about you, Fred? How about your final 4?
Indiana, North Carolina, Michigan, and then UNLV can beat anybody, so I'm going to take them.
Boy, that's a nice thing to say here, but boy, they sure look like it today. Hey, Coach Mass, you met him. Tell him about, as briefly as you can, the first time you met Coach Massimino.
Well, you introduced me to him at Augusta. We both turned around, and he was there. He gave me a pep talk for the last round. I went out and played good, and I've been waiting 3 years to go to one of his games, and it happens to be at UNLV, and what a great place. It's been a lot of fun.
I know he's happy to have you here today, and Billy Ray, a good friend also, Coach Massimino. Guys, thanks for stopping by, and make that a popcorn for both Billy and I, okay, for the second half, and just a water will do. And Georgetown controls to start the second half, and it's stolen. They don't control it for long. Boney! And they've now doubled up Georgetown 52-26. Joey Brown underneath. Swatted away by Gray. Oh, this is unbelievable, Billy. 2 quick fast break baskets.
I wouldn't say it's unbelievable, Jim. I just think that what has happened in this game is you've got to go back and replay it, is that Georgetown probably in some ways underestimated the experience and maturity of Vegas and thought they could play him in this kind of game, and they're just not capable at this stage in career of this young team. And Rolly Massimino up off on the sidelines, knowing how important it is to keep his team focused, telling them to get back out and run the offense. Good move on his part.
Edon Thomas, that was a 3. And look at Ryder hustling underneath. Over. Boney on the rebound. Well, if they didn't have it at halftime, they're looking for the knockout punch right now in the opening minutes of the second half. Well, it's 30 points, Billy. Unbelievable. I still say, I never expected this kind of a blowout. Billy, what about the shot selection in the first half?
Not only are they in the paint, Jim, but a lot of those were uncontested layups off the break due to the lack of defensive balance by Georgetown. And also the explosive ability of Boney, Gray, and of course J.R. Ryder to get out on the break from underneath the basket. Ryder fixing his sneakers right now on the floor. I'm going to retie his shoes.
He's got Georgetown in knots right now.
I like that one. And there's another man over there, a little bit in knots, but because of his great experience as a coach and realizing this is a young team, it's almost kind of like Mike Krzyzewski the other day. You know, kids deserve to lose every once in a while to gain some experience for the future. This may be my week, Jim. I saw Wake Forest blow out Georgia Tech the other day in a similar kind of game that you wondered the last thing you really expected.
Churchwell gets Georgetown's first 2 of the second half. Georgia Tech has to be college basketball's biggest enigma, 93.
And of course, we all underestimated the College of Charleston. They're leading the nation in percentage field goal defense right now.
J.R. Ryder. Well, we mentioned he had 4 straight games of at least 30. He's already at 26. Churchwell, again, he scores back-to-back baskets for Georgetown.
Well, I want to see Fullerton State play. They held him to 7.
He said that's the only time of my life. Of course, they couldn't check it, but the only time. Again, J.R. Ryder says it's the only time he's ever been held out of double figures in his career at any level. And Fullerton held him to 7.
And here is just a great move against a young player who doesn't know what's going to happen to him on the roll move. And you can see J.R. saying, how did you like that one? We worked on it in practice. No help from the backside. And even though Spencer's got him by 3 inches, Ryder's playing above him.
Edon Thomas, by the way, picked up his 3rd foul. Millen off balance. Harrington underneath off his hands. 60-30.
Wanting to run some offense. Man-to-man, down in the low post is Ryder. Now Harrington on it.
Gray off of Gray's hands.
How'd you like that pass?
Billy, fast break points in this game, thanks mainly to Boney, Gray, and Ryder. 18-0. Georgetown has not scored a fast break basket.
Now, one of the things helps, too, is the way that Raleigh Massimino deploys this full-court pressure with Ryder out front. Allows him to lead that break. We saw it 3 or 4 times in the first half.
Miku's pass almost picked off. Miku, this one blocked by Gray, saved by Harrington.
Really active. Harrington, quick feet.
They only have 12 seconds to work with on the shot clock. That's not been a factor in this game, the shot clock. Joey Brown rattles it out. Churchwell, he's off to a hot start in the second half. That pass run away.
Not there.
Rolly Massimino. He said that I might look old. I'm 58, but I'm not. I'm revived. I feel like I'm back in my 20s, having taken this new job after 19 years at Villanova. Talk about revived. This program before the nation's eyes today, and UNLV is still a factor, folks, in college basketball, that's for sure.
Well, Jim, the two coaches went head-to-head last year, both winning on the other guy's home court, but the games were in the low 70s. Miku, 3-5.
No call.
And John's going to have to talk to that official a little bit. No question, a foul on the play.
Dead ball under 16 minutes. That means an official's timeout. The lead is 28.
Big fan.
Jim Nance along with Billy Packer. And Billy, you had a chance yesterday to visit with Jerry Tarkanian, who coached them to the national championship in 1990. What can you tell us about that visit?
Well, I think that he's satisfied, that he is relaxing at home right now. Obviously, financially, he's in great shape, and I think physically he's in excellent shape, too. I got a chance to see him after the game today. Unfortunately, he is not here, and I think that's one of the things that, for both sides of what has been a very tough equation, that they can get back together, and he can resume very active participation in basketball, because he brought so much, and really a lot of what we're seeing here today is on the backs of his efforts.
Billy, there have been some reports this week that Tark may have suffered a heart attack, a mild heart attack, since he left UNLV. You say that's not?
You know, I'm not a doctor, but he looked awful good to me. Got that smile. And
J.R. Ryder with the three has his 31-point effort now, over 30 points. Millen quickly at the other end for 2. So Ryder over 30 for the 5th game in a row.
John Thompson matching him up with Millen. He's been able to go ahead and do a pretty good job against that 1-on-1 penetration. Ryder moved on earlier in the game with Spencer. Nice defensive job right there. Now he's in a low post in trouble.
He's enjoying himself, isn't he? You can just see it. Did you see the head fake, the smile?
Well, you see, he goes up with the right hand or the left on the inside, and when Millen got him down that low in the post, no chance. What's happening to UNLV's half-court 1-3-1 is they're starting to take a lot of chances, and they can with this kind of a lead, and therefore there's some breakdowns, not as solid as it was in the first half.
Churchwell answering with 12 points now, 8 in this half.
Jim, now it's Harrington and J.R., and they're mouthing off pretty good against each other. J.R. would like a piece of him right here.
Harrington says, come on, come on.
Oh, that's a beautiful pass to the wall.
Travel first.
Yeah, he tried to extend, realizing he was going to have to pass rather than shoot. Harrington took on the challenge.
We'll see some more of that matchup.
No, that won't work.
Gray steals it underneath. They try to lob it to Harrington. Thomas slicing through, setting up Boney. I tell you, this kid, Thomas, is an excellent ball handler. This time, getting the ball over to Boney for a basket.
You don't want to challenge him in the open court area. He's got a great crossover dribble. We saw it in the first half, and he stays so low to the ground.
He's one of the top assist men in college basketball, 9 assists a game.
And a great assist-turnover ratio of 3-1.
Talking about number 11 in UNLV's uniform, Didon Thomas. Joey Brown, good assist there by Joey. That should have been an easy hoop. Millen. But a foul. And the lineup tomorrow on CBS. We've got a doubleheader. North Carolina, Seton Hall from the Meadowlands. Ohio State, Indiana to follow. It all starts at 12:30 Eastern time. And then at 5 Eastern, Ford's 9th annual All-Madden team.
Jim, we start talking about some streaks. We talk about UNLV having their 293rd straight game where they hit a 3.
That's 9 years.
Yep, and it looks like that streak of 56 will move to 57 straight games here on their home court. Kind of interesting. There'd be 139 and 6 in this place. Of course, John Thompson's got 2 of those wins.
Well, you saw Gibson. He's come back in for UNLV along with Lawrence Thomas, who's handling the ball now.
The first thing that means, look out for him on the perimeter.
Lawrence Thomas. This is the young man who Massimino was trying to recruit for Villanova. Then he got the job here. It was only a verbal commitment to the Wildcats, and Thomas followed him out to the desert. Joey Brown with the left hand, score it, and they'll call it against Brown. They'll give him the basket, though.
Joey Brown in the Big East game so far that Georgetown has played, the 6 of them, is averaging right at 38 minutes a game. And he's kind of like Bobby Hurley in that respect. He can play the full 40.
He leads this team in assists, steals, and he's 3rd in rebounding and points. Manuel, followed up by Gray.
That's Gray. That's Gray again.
Kurzweil, leaping leaner.
But see, now it's too late to trade baskets with this club. And for every basket you get by executing against the 1-3-1, they're going to get one against you on a fast break. Oh, JR's got Harrington down low again.
Left-handed.
And a rebound.
Ryder.
Right hand.
He wants to score over Harrington now. He wants him bad. Yep.
There we go.
Ryder. Yep. Ball got caught up in traffic. Gibson fights for it. Good. They'll get it to Ryder. And he'll go to the line for 2.
2 teams that love to battle, and Raleigh Massimino just loving the effort that he's getting from his club. And that could be said for John Thompson's club as well, even though they're taking a real shellacking here, down by 31.
This was a major, major game for Rolly Massimino in his first year at UNLV, his first sellout. And an old foe and obvious reputable opponent in John Thompson and Georgetown needed a win like this for this community to even embrace him a little bit more.
And Jim, you know, those two being such rivals, as you said at the top of the show, John Thompson and Rolly Massimino, Rolly was 7-20 against Georgetown when he was at Villanova.
Lonnie Gurrell checks back into the ball game.
Of course, one of those 7 was the killer.
I'm sure Thompson would trade those other 20 for that one.
And you know, when you think back, when we talk about traditions and we talk about the opportunity for teams to have dynasties, that Georgetown era of Patrick Ewing, they lost by 2 to North Carolina and then by 1 by Georgetown. That could have been 3 out of 4 Final Four championships.
And officials timeout. At the Massimino family, they've all congregated this week for this big game. That's Mrs. Massimino, Mary Jane, holding a couple of the grandchildren. Her daughter-in-law sitting alongside Nancy. She's married to Tommy Massimino, the #1 assistant here at UNLV. Rejected. Out to Boney. Boney to Thomas. And right back to him for the 3. Gets the long rebound. Feeds it to Manuel. Look at this note here, Billy. The last time Georgetown allowed a team to score 100 points, Seton Hall, January 24th, 1976. That might have been the Raftery era.
No, wait a minute. Don't put that off on Billy. There's no way. He didn't have a team score 100 points when he was coaching. You kidding me? And not against Georgetown.
We're going to check that.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute.
Check
Boy,
that.
I don't want to come down on our man Billy, but gee.
I think it's wrapped.
Oh, my goodness.
Manuel. One more.
It should have got. We should have put that up. We should have put that up in the stars there if it was Billy Rafferty's team.
11:23 remaining.
Maybe it was one of the nights he didn't make the game.
Oh, man, are you cruel.
Had somebody substitute for him.
Raph, if you're watching, I'm sticking up for you, pal. Brown outside. He was trying to fight through a screen set by Don Reed. Actually trying to fight through the screen was Lawrence Thomas. And that's his first, team foul number 3.
Jim, to put that in perspective, when you think, I mentioned John is 5-1 against Vegas. And when you go back and look at the games, they were all played down in the 60s and 70s.
Mahoney on the break. It's another chance.
So quick. They're scoring even with Ryder out of the game. And just as we say that, who comes back in?
You're talking about that 5-1 record, Thompson against Vegas.
Yeah. There was only a game that 80 points or more were scored, and that was in '85. They being Georgetown beat Vegas, and probably one of Jerry Tarkanian's worst defeats ever, 85-46. All the rest were scored in the 70s or lower.
Well, they're racing now. Thomas on the driving layup. Churchwell has scored at the other end. Churchwell now has 18 to lead the Hoyas.
Well, here's where a young team really has a hard time pulling things back together. What Georgetown has to work for the future here.
Reed underneath, and he is hacked, and I have an answer now from the truck about that Seton Hall 100-point performance against Georgetown. The coach for the Pirates was Bill Raftery.
Well, I'm going to have to see the film. I don't care what they said in the truck. I want to see the film of that game.
Way to go, Raph. Don Reed poised at the line to shoot 2. One thing we don't know, though, is did Seton Hall win the game? How about that?
Yeah, you're giving him all the credit for being a great offensive wizard. I want to see the whole score there.
Reed. He'll have one more. Thomas, number 11, back in as you look at J.R. Ryder. And out to Lawrence Thomas. Look at his dribble, Billy. And a reverse. No, not enough English on it. From the corner, Lamont Morgan. Lamont Morgan. Same high school as Robert Churchwell, Gonzaga High School in the D.C. area.
Look out. Beautiful pass for Gibson. Great eye contact with J.R. Ryder.
By the way, Billy, the final note on that Seton Hall game, they won 102-91. So start writing the letter of apology.
I do. I apologize. National television. Billy, you were all over him.
Morgan. Oh, Gibson picked off by Reed. And, he is thrown to the court. And they call it on Gibson.
Well, what happened, and Jim, you pointed it out, Reed set a good screen, a legal screen. Gibson got hit pretty good on the screen. You'll see that's a legal screen. And then Gibson is wanting to make a little issue out of it. But he's fighting with the wrong man here in Reed. And Reed will just let him go to the floor. Now, you remember yesterday at practice when John Thompson started hollering at Reed a little bit, and he said, one of these days I'm going to let him punch me. But, of course, he was just kidding, you know. And he said, I want to challenge you.
And if he does, he says, I got Ed Spriggs waiting in the background.
On the sideline here.
Joey Brown. Yeah, now, we don't need any incidents here in the last 9 minutes of this game. Foul on Everett Gray. That's number 4 on Gray. And the 6th team foul. Gray, in fact, wasn't ejected, Billy, in a Missouri game earlier this season, but not for fighting. And, of course, that became such a key point a year ago when they ruled that if you are ejected for fighting, you're a victim of a one-game suspension,
right,
and the second time, your season's over.
Including NCAA tournament play.
And Gray will come out of the game, replaced by Reggie Manuel.
And this is something that I think is a very good move by a coach. You get a guy that's a little hot, sit him down for a while, let him cool off, rather than keep him on the game where a little bit more contact could get him in real trouble.
John Jocks, who started the game for Georgetown, he comes in, replacing the shooter, Joey Brown. 82-51 UNLV. By the way, this magnificent arena, the Thomas and Mack Center, now in its 10th year. The first sellout they ever had here, Billy, was a game against Georgetown in Georgetown's championship season.
That's right, Patrick Ewing.
69-67, the Hoyas prevailed in overtime. That was the first sellout. This is the first sellout of this season.
It was also the first time they were ever beaten in Thomas and Mack Arena.
Lobbed it inside to Reed. Reed was pushed. And now it's into the 1-and-1. Foul against Ryder, his third.
Jim, the only school really that has a record that even approaches what Vegas has been able to do is Louisiana Tech. Coming into this year, they were 116-8 at home. So two places you don't want to schedule.
And with this certain victory today, it'll be 139-6.
Awesome.
Last loss, we mentioned it in the open, this week 4 years ago. January of '89, Oklahoma won 90-89, and Stacey King
Set a record,
48 points, highest figure for a collegiate in this building.
You know, those were some great battles. Those Oklahoma UNLV games. Remember the replay situation in the one at Oklahoma. Billy Tubbs and Jerry Tartanian, two guys that really went at it.
Remember that one well, Billy. Right before the half, was it a 2 or was it a 3? And they borrowed our equipment.
Really changed basically the rule interpretation of how equipment can be used in basketball. Back to the 1-4 set.
Ryder wants to show his long-range shot. He's got that too. That's a 3. I say he's got that also. And now a career high 40 for Ryder. Doing it in style.
Career high in Division I. He had 51 as a junior college player.
Reed on the tip.
And may go for that record here today at the rate he's going.
8 minutes remaining.
And with Spencer on him, he's just looking to get a ball down the low post.
Oh, it's behind the back to free himself, but missed the layup. Georgetown ahead to Jocks. Scoops it, and he'll shoot 2. Fouled by Lawrence Thomas.
What's up, Mom?
Hello, sent back home to Macon, Georgia from Manuel. And how about the long home winning streaks, Billy? You've got a change here to make, huh?
Well, we're going to make one right here, and we're going to go to 57 early on. Georgia Southern lost today, so look at the difference. When you start talking about Division I basketball, almost doubling, a lot more than doubling, really, anybody else that's around. We saw Duke's streak go down the other day. Georgia Tech streak go down with the College of Charleston going in there. Virginia knocking off Duke. That took their streak away.
I cannot comprehend the collapse of Georgia Tech since we saw them 2 weeks ago, Billy. Knock off #1 Duke, and then the College of Charleston beat them up pretty good at Georgia Tech. Right. And then some ACC action just hasn't worked out either.
Well, Jim, you remember when we had them in that fine game against Duke University, they were holding their opponents down under 40%. College of Charleston shot 56%, and then Wake Forest went in there and shot over 60 against them. The defensive consistency of your team should be there, and normally is game in, game out. But it certainly wasn't in the case of Bobby Kerman's club. And you know, you can look at this game today. In the case of Georgetown, they've been holding opponents down under 40%. Vegas comes out in the first half and shoots 54%.
CBS Sports coverage, an official's timeout. Our coverage of NCAA basketball will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
Sports coverage of the road to the Final Four is sponsored by Oldsmobile, official car for NCAA championships. Prudential Securities, the most important thing we earn is your trust. And by Coast Deodorant Soap. That crisp, invigorating scent makes Coast the eye-opener.
Well, there's a new headliner coming out of Las Vegas. His name is J.R. Ryder. He has 40 points, a career high, and leading the Rebels to what has been a lopsided victory from the get-go. And here he is, Ryder again. Turn around this time. Reed on the rebound. And Lamont Morgan. Reed lobs it over the top. Gray almost stole it. Harrington.
And Jim, you look ahead a little bit for this Vegas club, and with their great quickness, you'd have to say when they get up against a team that's mature that has some size, I think they're going to be in trouble down inside. And they can explode on this younger and a team that's not quite as mature as they are, but you get against a club like a Michigan with their power and size, and North Carolina with their power and size, it could really make a toll on them. Good patience by Ryder that time, even though he's over 40, waiting to get a better shot.
Gray with a three.
It's knocked to the floor, no call.
Harrington turnaround.
He's tough. Big time player.
He has 15. The lead is still 27.
JR getting buried down in the low post now. Needs a little bit more room to operate. Double screen for him on the weak side. There's a case Gibson got in his way for the bounce foul.
And lost it. Trying to set up the move. Morgan's pass tipped by Thomas. Then Gibson tries to make the save.
Boy, he hit his hip right into that chair. Hope he's all right. They really need this guy for special situations.
Yeah, the black eye for Gibson, not from today, but he'll have a pretty serious bruise on the hip tomorrow, that's for sure.
Tough, straight man-to-man. And that's what we're talking about. The low post play. Gray doing a great job as long as the game is extended 90 feet. You get down to a half-court set, he's got a problem.
Hey, on that lineup tomorrow, Bill Raftery, getting a lot of airtime today. He'll be calling that game.
North Carolina. Let's give my buddy Al some airtime.
All right, Coach McGuire will be on the second one.
1977, Al's team at Marquette wins the national championship. But in that Final Four,
UNLV was there.
Right. I thought that Jerry Tarkanian's team was the best team in the country. And one of the things, they were beaten by North Carolina in the opening game in the Final Four. But Jerry Tarkanian, really with that 77 club, brought this type of basketball on the national level for everybody to see. I mean, the explosive scoring. Glenn Gondrzak, who was one of their key players, is now an announcer here. Matter of fact, announcing this game today. But that team, Jim, had 6 players on it that were seniors that were drafted in the NBA in 1 year. Still a record in the NCAA. 6 off of one team, and of course, the very next year, Reggie Theus goes in the first round. So,
of course, the draft was a little bit longer,
a little deeper than it is now.
One of the players was Tony Smith,
right?
And his son now plays at UNLV, a freshman. We may see him before this game's out. You talked about them losing in the semifinals that year. The thing I remember about that game was Michael Corrin, manual from the baseline. Michael Corrin, as a freshman for Carolina, had 31. The Heels beat UNLV.
Again, there's an entry pass against a team as quick as Vegas. You can't throw entry passes from 30 feet away.
Harrington in traffic. 2 more. Now with 18.
Gray looking to set the solid screen on Brown.
Gray driving. 2 more.
Harrington and Spencer, Jim, overmatched out at the top of the key today in the offensive sets by Vegas. Ryder and Gray just too quick and strong for him from that distance. And they can put the ball on the floor and deliver to the basket.
The thing Coach Massimino was saying is we see Millen fire up a 3. He says they may have the size advantage, but he spoke specifically of Everett Gray. Hey, you've got the experience. Been in these games before.
Well, you got to remember, 3 years ago, when Larry Johnson burst onto the scene around here, it was Gray that used to match up against him in practice. So he had 2 years against Larry Johnson in practice. And you can imagine what a man that made out of him.
Boney scoring for UNLV. 30-point advantage, 91-61. Mark Morgan kicks it back out. Joey Brown 3. Joey Brown has made a couple from out there today.
And that's really not his bag.
And Brown trying to draw the charge. He is whistled instead. Joey Brown, really one of my favorite college players, Billy. So tough, does so many things, and he's only 5'10", the leader of this team. Next year, after this team matures, look out for Georgetown in '94. An official's timeout. This man on the UNLV bench, one of Rollie Massimino's heroes. When Rollie came out of college at Vermont, he first landed a job as an assistant to that man, Bill Martin, at Cranford High School in New Jersey. The association has lasted ever since. And he was there, in fact, for the championship back in '85, now retired down in Florida, Mr. Martin, and has been spending a week out here helping out with the team and visiting his favorite protege.
Tim, when my father used to be coaching at Lehigh University, he used to tell me about Coach Martin and what a great job he did. And you know who was another one of his pupils?
Hubie Brown. Hubie Brown followed Rollie as the assistant to Coach Martin at Cranford.
My dad used to tell me this thing is way ahead of his time in regard to drills, defensive philosophy.
Joey Brown
is on the bench today.
Brown with the three. Manuel with the three at the other end. I'll say one more thing about Martin. A year ago, he had a heart operation. And he said every day, Rollie Massimino called him. Not only did he call his old coach, but he called the doctor also to make sure that everything was going just right.
Getting the right school.
Tells you something about him, though, doesn't it? Tells you something about that man.
Yep. Othello Harrington, despite this loss, which is bordering on record proportions right now for Georgetown, is showing everybody that he's everything that people talk about.
And one. 96-71, and going to the line is Don Reed. And Billy, we saw the story at halftime that was so eloquently delivered by Pat O'Brien. I'll get to that in a minute. They're going to bring out the starters. They've waited for this day for a couple of years.
This is a very important moment for Rollie Massimino in this Vegas program. The banner may now have been passed. No full crowd, great exhibition of basketball. And I think today it has become Rollie Massimino's program for the first time. And you can see he's emotionally, it's got to him. And he's shook right now.
He's one guy that won't hide his emotions either, I'll tell you
exactly.
that.
I'll tell you, the people back in Philly said he'll never be able to get it done. He won't run. But that man has turned it here.
Winning with a team that is so small that when he scrimmages with his players, he has to play center. Missed shot by Clausen. Follow-up.
Oh, good steal.
Loughran tried to get a bucket. Now it's Brown on the drop. Offensive. There you see a couple of subs in. Sean Loughran, Jason Brooks, Clint Clausen.
And Jim, you know something interesting too, that John Thompson has put Spencer on the bench a great deal today, and I think he just doesn't want that young man to lose confidence. You know, he's been able to get by with a perimeter type game against less powerful people. Today, he goes out there against a guy that really was in a position to embarrass him at this stage in his career.
They got to get it across in a couple of seconds, and they do. Here's Smith, Damian Smith. We mentioned his father, Tony Smith, former UNLV star in the late 70s. Miku, that is. Inside goes Georgetown, and a foul called against UNLV. Hey, that 100 points, Billy, that's...
Raph is out there saying, come on, guys, toughen up on defense. Yeah, keep my record alive.
He's putting a hex on it. Maybe the last record that Billy has still.
I think for this year's
positive record, that is.
NCAA's panel this year, I think we should get some films up on that game. You know he's got them at home.
Probably reviewing them right now. Millen will shoot one more.
And there's J.R. Ryder. What a day he's had today. What a couple of weeks he's had. Looks like he's in line to continue with UNLV's Big West Player of the Year domination.
Hey, he's the greatest deep threat I've seen on the West Coast this side of another J.R. Jerry Rice gets a step on you and they go long. Forget it. It's over. Now Brooks. Ooh. Smith ran right into Jocks, and Jocks hit with the foul. Georgia Tech wins at Virginia.
At Virginia, a team that was the last team to remain undefeated this year. Now they dropped 2 straight. It looks like North Carolina's taken a lot out of ball clubs, Jim. Georgia Tech was playing so well, so they went up and played at Chapel Hill the same way with Virginia. And then they both bounced back after those games and can't get on track.
Long-range shot by Loughran. Burrell ahead. Gets the roll. 1:05 to go. Damian Smith to the deep corner.
There's not a lot of passing out here. Everybody, this is like a playground game right now. But I'm going to get mine. I haven't shot many in front of 21,000 people, whatever this place holds.
45 seconds to go. About 18,000 here today. You know, this is a great trivia question, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar set the NBA's all-time scoring mark right here. In fact, at the other end on a sky hook over Mark Eaton and the Utah Jazz. Mark, and not to pick you out, but it was the sky hook for Kareem, and I was here broadcasting that game back to Utah with Hot Rod Hundley.
How about that? Yeah. You know, that's kind of interesting. The man he passed was Wilt Chamberlain, you know, and people start thinking about, well, where did he make that shot years from now? The trivia question, nobody will know it was Vegas. And a lot of people won't remember that Wilt scored his 100th, not in Philadelphia, but in Hershey,
Pennsylvania. Patterson rejected by Brooks, but contact. And tonight on CBS, the lineup, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. That's Jane Seymour. Followed by Raven and the Hat Squad.
Well, you know, last week, Bob Fishman, our ace track director, when that Hat Man promo came on, found some hats for us at Duke.
Watch how fast he does right now,
how quickly he can find the hat of the day here at Vegas.
Hats off to J.R. Ryder, I'll tell you that. Okay, I'll save Bob.
A little pun on words.
Not that he needs any saving. Now the 100 wrap. Looks like you're going to be okay, pal. Smith with a 3. Miku with a nice forward to Jocks, and he'll shoot 1. Hey, the final score in this game is going to be a little misleading. 96-80 right now.
Definitely misleading because it was over after about the first 8 minutes. And Jim, since you're in the trivia mold here for the last couple of minutes, what has John Thompson done that no other man in the history of basketball has done? That man right there. That's enough. He's the only man ever to coach a national championship team and play on an NBA championship team.
And he also played on an NIT championship team for Providence in '63. I'll add to it.
Oh, that's got to be a goal, 10. Unless the ref thought it couldn't go in.
Their home streak here at the Thomas & Mack Center.
UNLV 96-80.
Over the Hoyas of Georgetown, the final score. UNLV 96.
So, your points, 10 boards from Georgetown. That's right on his average. J.R. Ryder, who else, with 40 points from UNLV. A check in the amount of $1,000 donated to each college's general scholarship fund. So, for Billy Packer and Pat O'Brien, I'm Jim Nance saying so long from the Thomas & Mack Center, where the final score is UNLV 96, Georgetown 80. That's Runnin' Rebels. But today it was J.R. Jammin' Rebels, that is. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports, home of the NCAA basketball champions.